The Loneliest Strong Man, a motivational story with a strong mindset theme. The story: Elijah's Silent War. Everyone thought Elijah had it together. At 31, he was the person people called when things fell apart. The friend who showed up. The colleague who stayed late. The son who held the family together when his father got sick, when the bills piled up, when his younger brother lost his job and needed a place to stay. Elijah handled it. All of it, without complaint, without hesitation, and without ever once asking for anything in return. From the outside, he looked unbreakable. From the inside, he was exhausted in a way that sleep could not fix. There is a particular kind of loneliness that belongs only to strong people. The loneliness of being the one everyone leans on, while quietly having no one to lean on yourself. It does not announce itself dramatically. It creeps in through the small moments. The dinner you eat alone after solving everyone else's crisis, the 2 a.m. silence when the weight of everything you are carrying sits on your chest like concrete, the realization that the people who call you strong have never once asked you how you actually are, and meant it. Elijah knew this loneliness intimately. He had lived inside it for years. He just didn't have a name for it yet. The moment the wall cracked. It happened on an ordinary Tuesday. Elijah was sitting in his car outside a grocery store. Grocery list on his phone, engine running. He had just come from his mother's house, where he had fixed a leaking pipe, listened to her anxiety about money for 40 minutes, transferred funds from his own account to cover her rent, and promised he was fine when she asked. He was not fine. He sat in that car, engine running, and felt something he had not allowed himself to feel in years. Not sadness exactly. Not anger. Something older and quieter than both. A grief for the version of himself that had needed something and never been given permission to say so. He gripped the steering wheel. His knuckles went pale. And then, for the first time in as long as he could remember, Elijah cried. Not the controlled, dignified kind. The kind that comes from somewhere deep and long-locked, that shakes your shoulders and takes your breath and doesn't ask for your permission. He let it happen. When it passed, he sat in the quiet of the car and thought, I have been so busy being strong for everyone else that I forgot I am also a person who needs something. That thought cracked him open. And through the crack, finally, some light got in. What Elijah finally understood. In the weeks that followed, Elijah began to examine the story he had been telling himself about strength. The story that said needing help is weakness, that vulnerability is a burden to others, that the strongest thing a person can do is carry everything alone and never let anyone see the weight. He realized that story was not strength. It was armor. And armor, worn long enough, stops protecting you and starts imprisoning you. He made 3 decisions that changed everything. 1. He stopped performing okay. When people asked how he was, he began telling the truth. Not dramatically, not as a flood, but honestly. I'm carrying a lot right now. 3 words. The responses surprised him. People leaned in rather than away. 2. He learned to receive, not just give. Elijah had built his entire identity around being the giver. He discovered that refusing help was not humility. It was a wall that kept people from truly knowing him. When a friend offered to sit with him through a hard week, he said yes for the first time. It felt strange. Then it felt like relief. 3. He set boundaries without apology. He began saying no to requests that drained him beyond his capacity. Not with guilt, not with lengthy explanations, but with quiet, firm care for himself. He discovered that the people who truly respected him accepted the boundary. The ones who didn't revealed something important about the nature of the relationship. The transformation. Elijah did not become less strong. He became strong in a different way, the way that lasts. He still showed up for the people he loved. He still solved problems and carried responsibility. But he did it now from a place of genuine capacity rather than silent depletion. He started seeing a therapist, something he had dismissed for years as unnecessary. He joined a men's group where, for the first time in his adult life, he sat in a room full of people who understood the particular weight of being the strong one. He started sleeping again. Not the restless, guilt-threaded sleep of a man who knows tomorrow's list is already too long, but the deep earned sleep of someone who has finally put some of the load down. His relationships deepened. Because when Elijah finally let people see him, all of him, not just the capable, composed, got-it-together version, they loved him more completely than they ever had before. He had spent years believing that his strength was what made him valuable. He learned that it was his humanness all along. The takeaway: the loneliest people in any room are often the strongest ones. Not because strength isolates, but because we have built a culture that treats emotional self-sufficiency as the highest virtue and vulnerability as a flaw to be hidden. It is not. Strength that never rests is not strength. It is slow collapse wearing a brave face. The most powerful thing a strong person can do is learn to put the weight down, to say I need something too, to receive care without guilt, to stop performing invincibility for an audience that would love them just as much, perhaps more, if they simply showed up as human. You are allowed to be both strong and struggling. You are allowed to need people. You are allowed to not be okay and to say so. The strongest version of you is not the one who never breaks down. It is the one who breaks down, feels it fully, and then, with trembling hands and an open heart, gets back up. Not alone this time. The bravest thing a strong person can do is finally admit, I need someone too.